Can Todd Pletcher win on one of his other horses in the Breeders' Cup Classic? Let's talk about Mindframe right here on NYRA Bets. Hi, everyone. Matthew DeSantis here with NYRA Bets, along with my colleague Kaylie Shapiro, and welcome to another one of our Breeders' Cup Contender Spotlight videos. This one is on Todd Pletcher's other horse, and he has another horse also, but we're going to talk about Mindframe. But before we do, if you have not yet playing with NYRA Bets, make sure to use that promo code CUP25. You get a free $25 bet and up to a $200 deposit match bonus. So make sure to use that promo code today. Kaylie, Mindframe is a horse that you and I both were looking forward to talking about because you said it before we pressed record. He's an X factor in this race.
Absolutely. I think that him and Nevada Beach are the two biggest X factors in the race, meaning they're two lightly raced, improving horses that have truly never done anything wrong in their careers. Like we were looking at Mindframe's record. I mean, the only races that this horse lost, it was the Belmont and the Haskell when he was still pretty immature. And we could see that he was still a little green as he was coming down the stretch in all of those races. And he still finished second. And then he was undefeated. And the only race he lost was when he lost his rider.
Yes.
So he's really interesting to me. And certainly no one better than Todd Pletcher to have this horse, of course.
Yeah, few trainers are better at helping a horse get a distance than Todd Pletcher, particularly on the dirt, while all those successes at the Belmont Stakes. And listen, Mindframe is one of those horses, you mentioned it, was kind of an afterthought. Everybody focused on fierceness out of that crop of horses and that year of horses that Pletcher had. But Mindframe kind of popped up and all of a sudden replaced fierceness in the Belmont Stakes. Because if you remember last year in the Belmont, Fierceness wasn't quite ready to run back. You know, it really that Kentucky Derby took a lot out of him. And next thing you know, there's Mindframe being entered off only 2 career starts, ran a huge race that day. And you're right, if he had been a little bit more mature, probably would have beaten Dornoch. But Dornoch really came back and fought on the inside. And then we were down there in the Haskell last year, and it was the same song, second verse, where he got to the lead, got a little green. Dornoch fought back and won the race.
Absolutely. And Dornoch is a really tough customer. I mean, not only is that horse just a great racehorse, but he has a lot of heart. That's a tough horse to try to beat. And I thought Mindframe really held his own in both of those races as a young horse.
As a very young horse, he came back this year and really participated in one of the better races I think we had all year, which was the Churchill Downs Stakes on that Kentucky Derby undercard.
Oh, yeah.
And this was a thrilling 7 furlong sprint. And this was his first race, or no, I'm sorry, his second, maybe, it was his first race off the bench, I think, this year. And absolutely incredible race here. You had Nisos, you had Banishing, you had Bookham Dano, you had Mulligan, and all of a sudden, from kind of out of the clouds comes Mindframe running here. And it is a 4-way photo finish, basically, for the win, with Mindframe getting up just in the nick of time to get the win here on the far outside. But this was absolutely thrilling. I mean, you see him cross there, and those were excellent horses that he beat that day in his first start as a 4-year-old.
Oh, yeah. Banishing is always a pretty consistent horse and always runs his eyeballs out in spots you'd least expect. And then Bookham Dano is just a great horse and certainly flattered. I know he finished behind Mindframe there, but he came back to have a tremendous summer this past summer as well. He was running against really great horses that day.
And not to mention Nisos, who might very well be your favorite in the dirt mile.
Oh, yeah. And that horse looks a picture.
He always does.
Working out this morning. And that brings me to an interesting point. I mean, Mindframe is a horse that excels at any distance, as we've seen, obviously routed in the Belmont and the Haskell, and then went 7 furlongs in the Churchill Downs. And it's interesting. I think it says a lot that he's in the Classic, because Rapoli could have easily put this horse in the dirt mile.
Yes.
He could have put this horse in a couple of other spots that he would have been facing less deep of fields. And I think Rapoli really is giving himself the best chance to win the Classic, no matter which horse it's with, Fierceness or Mindframe. So I think it says a lot that Mindframe is even entered in the Classic.
Absolutely. And let's talk a little bit about just some of the details of Mindframe in terms of being sired by Constitution out of a Street Sense mare. It looks like Irad Ortiz Jr. will likely stay up on this one, and we'll get to him staying up on this horse in a little bit later. But you mentioned it, the 8 career starts this year, 4 starts, 3 victories. The only time he didn't win was that last race in the Jockey Club Gold Cup, where Irad was knocked off in the early going of the race. He's an outstanding horse, and he is a horse that I have had a hard time sometimes getting a hold of just because, as you mentioned, he excels at so many different distances. This is a horse that's a graded stakes winner at 7 furlongs, a mile and an eighth, a mile and a 16. I mean, he can go a lot of different distances. Now, the one time he tried the mile and a quarter, it was a second place. I think that a lot of that had to do with maturity more than anything else. But in that Stephen Foster, which was the second start of the year, going a mile and an eighth, he got the jump on Sierra Leone. He sat a much better trip that day, and he was able to hold off who is likely going to be your second choice in this year's Breeders' Cup Classic.
Absolutely. And I really think Mindframe is going to love a mile and a quarter. I mean, look at his pedigree.
Yeah.
He certainly, obviously, like you said, finished second place the last time that he tried it, but he was just immature. And I really think that the pedigree suits a mile and a quarter, obviously. And it's a bit versatile, too.
Yes.
His family, his female family, where they've had runners that excelled at all different distances. So he's really interesting. Like I said, I mean, I really think that he's the biggest X factor in the race besides Nevada Beach. Those two very interesting horses. And I'm excited to see how he's working out over the track as well.
I'll be very excited to see that also. And that's going to be one where, he is just such a physically, he's a very impressive horse to be around. Obviously, very mature horse, even though he's relatively lightly raced in terms of you've seen that maturation really kind of kick in this 4-year-old season as he's gotten a couple more races under his belt. And the versatility is so important. This is a horse that can sit a few different trips. I mean, you saw him coming from well off the pace in that Churchill Downs Stakes going 7 furlongs. But if he needs to, he can sit right up there on the pace going a mile and a quarter, I would imagine, because he's got that speed to be able to sit a tracking trip close to his stablemate Fierceness, not necessarily applying pressure to Fierceness, but staying a length or two away from him.
Definitely. And I'd imagine that the plan probably going into this, Pletcher's probably going to have them placed in 2 different spots. Fierceness obviously is going to be pretty close up to the lead. And then Mindframe, I'd imagine, can sit further back. Like you just said, if you have a horse that excels at both, and you have one that does well sitting close to the pace, that's probably the way that you're going to play it to give yourself the best shot to get a win in the Classic. But yeah, I'm excited to see Mindframe. I'm excited that he's in the race and clearly has matured a lot as he's gotten more races under his belt. So now's kind of the time where he's going to prove himself or he's not.
Yeah, I agree. And it's interesting because the Jockey Club Gold Cup was going to be a real opportunity for him because that was a race where he was finally going to be able to try that mile and a quarter as a 4-year-old and kind of show, hey, listen, that was just some immaturity, as you said, as a 3-year-old. Not fading, but kind of getting to the lead and then giving it up, going a mile and a quarter. And of course, that Jockey Club Gold Cup ended up being defined by just the absolute disaster at the start of it in terms of all of the bumping that went on. And you'll see there he is, the number 4 horse with the yellow saddle talent. There's Kendrick dipping in. And all of a sudden, Irad's knocked off Mindframe. He's briefly on White Bardo. He tries to get back on Mindframe, actually. But the horse obviously loses the rider in the early going of the race. He's corralled eventually, I think, around the far turn. I guess my question is, that's, obviously that's Sierra Leone's last race. That's Antiquarian's last race. That's Highland Falls' last race. There are some horses. I guess what I'm getting at is he didn't really even get a final prep race in that regard. Like his final prep race was kind of ruined before it started in some ways.
Yeah, so it would be Sierra Leone's last, and who else?
Antiquarians, obviously, and Highland Falls, and
he's not in the class.
No, but it'll be interesting to see.
It'll be really interesting to see, and I mean, I think what you're getting at also is that, he didn't get another race under his belt before going out here.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a very interesting point. And that kind of makes him like a question mark for me, because here's the thing, I'm going to throw one of the 2 X factors into the top 4, whether it be Mindframe or Nevada Beach. I lean more towards Nevada Beach, honestly, because of the fact that this horse didn't get that race. I mean, but clearly it didn't bother him at all.
He was fine.
He was pretty mature that day with the way that he acted.
Yes, he was.
I mean, he wasn't freaked out. He wasn't anything. So I thought that was a good sign at the least.
Yeah, no, I agree. And listen, he's a very nice horse. And, it just speaks to how deep this field is this year. Because you have Sovereignty, you have Fierceness, you have Sierra Leone, you have Forever Young. You have Journalism. You have Mindframe. And Mindframe, somehow this horse is kind of being forgotten about. Listen, I just released a top 5 video.
So deep.
And somebody, I think it was Carl Carlson, said, you might not have even mentioned the winner of the race. And I don't disagree. I mean, it would not shock me if this horse pulled an upset. Like, that's what I mean. Like, it would not, out of all the horses that we have in our top 4 or 5, if Mindframe ran a hole in the wind and freaked, that would not shock me at all if he freaked.
Me neither, because the horse can very well run a hole in the wind at this distance based on his pedigree.
And set a good trip.
We haven't seen him this year go this distance with his mental, with how much he's matured.
Yeah.
So that's pretty interesting. He could really improve getting back to the 1.25 mile distance.
He could, and there's few jockeys I trust more on a big day than Irad Ortiz Jr. So I think that's the other thing is we were talking the other day about the stats of jockeys with the most Breeders' Cup wins at Del Mar. Jose and Irad both have 4. Joel Rosario's on that list. William Buick's on that list as well with 4. Joel and Buick don't have rides in this. Jose aboard journalism. Irad aboard Mindframe. Listen, it's going to be a lot of fun. This is talking about Mindframe gets me excited for this race because we didn't even just mention Baeza too. I mean, this is a loaded field.
No, it's insane. I can't remember the last time the field was like this for the Classic.
I cannot, and I'll tell you what. I was watching, as you know, I do sometimes at work. I will go back and just watch old races.
Yeah, me too.
And I watched the 2022 Breeders' Cup Classic. And, Flightline, I'll watch that all day. But, you start getting into, Rich Strike's in that race. And, I mean, I like Olympiad, but let's not overstate how good Olympiad was. But it's like, and even you watch last year's race. And, I mean, this field is just so much better top to bottom than any Classic field I can remember in the last probably 15 to 20 years.
Definitely. And my favorite thing is watching back the Classic fields and seeing how many sires came out of this exact Classic.
Yeah.
Like, for example, Curlin's Breeders' Cup Classic. I always rewatch that and look at the amount of horses, count how many of them are sires. And I think that this is going to be a Classic that we look back on and say the same thing. Jeez.
Yeah. No, I think so, because fierceness, Sierra Leone, journalism, sovereignty, they're all set up to be big-time sires. And Forever Young, I mean, he could be the next big thing over in Japan, too. So, it's going to be really fascinating to see. That is if American Pharaoh comes back. Anyway, we'll discuss that a little bit later. Listen, folks, Mindframe, going to be a lot of fun to see. And a definite X factor, you're going to get a price. I mean, that's the crazy part, is you're going to get a price on a multiple grade 1 winning horse.
Oh, yeah.
That's the crazy part to me, is that you get a price on Mindframe. You get a huge price on Nevada Beach. You'll get a price on Baeza. You'll get a price on, I mean, when I say a price, I'm not talking 10 to 1. I'm talking 20 to 1, 25 to 1, 30 to 1, potentially on these horses. That's wild to me.
It is wild.
You know what else is wild? Cup 25 promo code. Use it if you're not playing on NYRA Bets yet. Get a $25 free bet and up to a $200 deposit match bonus. So use that promo code CUP25 today. Listen, Kaylie and I, we're getting excited for the Breeders' Cup Classic. We hope you are too. So press that like and subscribe button. For Matthew DeSantis, this is Kaylie Shapiro. Wish you a great and prosperous day at the races. And reminding you, friends, it's now post time.